On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, another freshman has entered my purview. Stop me if you've heard this before, but I absolutely love this freshman class. And Todd Pettiford of Auburn is the newest member of the class to get me going. 21 points off the bench against Houston. Auburn gets a massive, massive win, not only against who Kim Palm said was the best team in college basketball, who I think might be one of the best teams in college basketball and will be all season. I think Houston and Auburn will be ranked top 10 all year long. But a big win to go to Houston and beat a team that good, and to do it after fighting on the plane, and the Auburn plane has to turn around and go back to Auburn, kick two guys off the plane, show up in Houston shorthanded, but also technically they're shorthanded, but also they still have a fuck ton of talent, and Auburn is so long and so athletic. And Todd Pettiford, in the snap of a finger, somehow he did not score against Vermont in their first game and fouled out, and he was not on my radar, I'll put it that way. And in the snap of a finger, I went from doubting Auburn or just having questions about Auburn. I wasn't a hater yet. We're still early in the season. I'm feeling them out, and I was in a position where I was like, I gotta see what this Auburn team is. And a snap of a finger, I'm a believer, and I'm thinking maybe Auburn's the best team in the country. Massive win at Houston. Meanwhile, on Friday night, Kansas builds a 20-point lead in the first half against North Carolina, blows the entire lead, still hangs on to win. Crazy game. Felt like a reverse of the 22 national title game there for a second, where Carolina obviously had the big lead, blew it against Kansas in the second half. Kansas wins the national championship. But Kansas this time, unlike what Carolina did in the championship, Kansas blows the lead, still hangs on to win. Zeke Mayo, I thought, for Kansas, especially in the first half, was awesome and was exactly what this team was missing last year. He was a guy that I was watching all game, and I was like, damn, they bring in all these transfers in the offseason, and he seemed to be the guy that in this first big test for Kansas emerged as like a difference maker between last year and this year, in the sense of bringing some offensive creativity and some playmaking on the perimeter that they didn't have last year. But at the same time, Kansas might have a Hunter Dickinson problem. I mean, we'll talk about Hunter Dickinson. He is very, very good at like three things and very, very bad at everything else. And to me, that was the story of the second half, was Hunter Dickinson's defense. And I don't know if it was a good game. It was an up and down game, a lot of scoring. It was exciting. You didn't know who was going to win, and at times I was like pulling my hair out for both teams, just like, what the fuck are you doing out there? But nonetheless, it's great to see two blue bloods in a obviously one of the best atmospheres in college basketball. So that was awesome on Friday night. Meanwhile, Baylor threw a zone defense at Arkansas, and if you close your eyes and listen closely, you can still hear Arkansas passing the ball around the perimeter as they just stand still and look at the bench and say, what defense are they in, coach? We can't figure this out. Baylor bounces back after losing to Gonzaga, beats Arkansas by simply not playing man-to-man and confusing the fuck out of Arkansas. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot of zone defense thrown at Arkansas all season long. And Tennessee blows out Louisville. Huge game. Under the radar, kind of. With all the great games going on in college basketball this weekend, that was the result that surprised me the most, I guess. Not that I thought Tennessee would lose. I expected it to be a close game. This was supposed to be a program type win for Pat Kelsey. I think he saw it that way. I think he saw it as his chance to put a big stamp on this new era of Louisville basketball. The exact opposite happened. Tennessee builds a 10-0 lead out of the gate and never trails, blows out Louisville on their home court. And Chaz Lanier, the new, he's kind of becoming the new Dalton Connect, if you want to look at it that way. The questions around Tennessee every single year will be the offense, and do they have guys who can make things happen on offense? And last year they had Dalton Connect. This year they're not going to have Dalton Connect. Who's going to fill that void for him? Chaz Lanier so far has been that guy, and that's been a massive difference for Tennessee. And meanwhile, Todd Golden's on Fraud Watch, which on Friday I put on the Fraud Power Rankings. And right after we get done with the show, story breaks that there's more to Todd Golden than just not playing the 7'9" guy. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Absolutely loaded weekend of college basketball, not just on the court, but off the court as well. A ton to talk about. We'll do our best to hit it all. Let's get into it. All right, Tate, let's start with Auburn and Houston. I think Carolina and Kansas beating Carolina, I think, was the obviously the two blue bloods, and it was an exciting game, and I think that's the one that people will pay more attention to just because of the brand names. But I think Auburn-Houston was a better game in the sense that I think both those teams might be better than Kansas and Carolina both. I think those two teams might actually be better.
And it felt like a late March, early April game.
That's what they were saying.
The environment
yeah.
and the intensity and the defense and the coaching. I thought that was a better game between better teams than the one the night before.
I agree with that. And we'll see a lot of basketball left to be played. But those two teams felt more complete this early in the season than Carolina and Kansas did, despite Carolina and Kansas having better brands and better recruiting classes and better yada yada yada. But before we get to the actual game, we should probably talk about the fight on the plane. Ja'Kai Howard and Jaheim Hudson get kicked off the plane for Auburn, and I'm not here to say I don't know the story. I don't know who did what, who started it.
I've been all over the place. Just I
have no idea who to blame. I will say this: the video of Ja'Kai Howard against Vermont standing in the corner. The body language every time Miles Kelly hit a three, and he's like he looks more upset than the Vermont players look.
Yeah.
He's just like completely disgusted.
They've got some players like showering themselves with praise, and then he's like walking head back upset.
Yeah. Between that and the fact that he has played at Donda Academy at Kanye West's fake ass high school academy that he created, and also Overtime Elite. That's his path to Auburn,
where he was not named a captain. They said that. They said he was not named captain. A
lot of circumstantial evidence is pointing towards it being one guy's fault, and I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying, as a guy sitting at home on the couch trying to figure out what happened, and I saw the video, and then I was like, "Who's this kid?" And then I looked him up, and I was like, "Oh, he's from Donda Academy at Overtime Elite, huh?
Bishop Sycamore,
huh?" And he's fighting like a fifth-year senior, fourth-year senior. Like, huh? I don't know what happened on that plane, but it's simultaneously like one of the wilder stories and not a wild story, in the sense that altercations happen fairly often. Like you get a bunch of young masculine energy in like a tight space, and these guys are competing every day in practice, and shit carries over. Like I remember back when I was playing, like these sorts of things went on fairly often, where like guys would yell at each other on a plane. Where guys would,
I was gonna say on a plane.
On a plane, okay. Yes, in a hotel room. It never got super heated. It was just like a lot of shit talking. You're playing cards. You shit talk. But physical altercations never. Like that was the crazy part to me. That's what made it shocking. And if there is a physical altercation, for it to elevate itself to a level that the pilot has to turn the plane around and pull like the dad move where he's like, "I will stop this car if you guys don't lock it up." That was crazy to me. When that story broke, I was like, "This is for this to elevate itself to a level, and for the guys to not just like I'm sure the pilot opened the door and was like, cut it out."
That's what I need to see. There is so much.
The guy's not cutting it out. It's crazy.
There's so many reports circulating. So it all started. Jeff Goodman had it, and he called it horseplay on the plane. Horseplay.
There's a horse on the plane.
What is
got horses on the plane?
It was tomfoolery. What was going on up there? What is horseplay to you? It's like in the locker room, a wedgie,
a noogie.
Like did someone get on the plane and go
spitballs,
tap him on the left shoulder? They looked over. You were on the right shoulder.
Yeah.
Is that so?
He
that
made him
right
say
there.
Underwear. So Ja'Kai, what's that under there?
So
underwear.
That's obviously bullshit. But then as the story continued to come out, you get the air traffic controller's audio.
Yeah.
In which he calls in. And he says, we need to turn this plane around, or we need to land this plane, emergency landing. We need a police presence when we get there. A bunch of basketball players are fighting. Shirts are ripped, and there's blood all over.
That's crazy.
That's not horseplay.
That's not horse. That's just a fight.
That's a fight. So
this is a full-blown fight.
Do you think there was a time where they got like a warning? Like hey, I will turn this plane around?
That's what
I need that audio.
I feel like the way I would see it unfolding in my head is that there was that time that the pilot opened the door. Somebody on the plane was like, cut the shit out, got on the PA, was like, please stop or we'll turn the plane around. And then it didn't stop. And that's crazy to me is that if they did in fact make that announcement, like where was the coaching staff? Where were the rest of the players?
Captains, whoever.
Somebody. Or maybe it was just like the altercation happened and they were like, that's enough for us to just turn it around.
Yeah,
and we're done here. And
I could do a whole show on this. Like, I know we're going to talk about all the basketball stuff. I need interviews of the guy that made the call.
Yeah.
Like, there's two types of people. Like, was this dude looking for a problem and wanted to turn this plane around to be a pain in the ass? Or was this guy like, Jesus, boys, the last thing I want to do is turn this goddamn plane around. But you're forcing me to do it. I need to hear from that guy.
Yeah. Or maybe the pilot had diarrhea and he wanted to blame it on the players. Maybe he was like, this would be a horrible look. Like the plane takes off and he's like, God, I got to shit so bad. He's like, I would love to just land it. Like, I would love to just land this plane. And then a fight breaks out and he's like, aha, this is my opportunity.
But that gets me to my next point is
I'm just thinking out loud. That's all.
I need to talk to air traffic control because they say that the plane was 45 minutes into the flight and then came back. So that's 90 minutes. How far is a flight from Alabama to Texas?
To Texas, yeah. It shouldn't have been that.
Can't be much more than 90.
Yeah, why not just land in Houston?
Like, at that point, it's like, I finished the flight.
I don't know. It's crazy. I'm not stunned that more fights or horseplay. We'll call it horseplay. I wouldn't say fights. I wouldn't say fists being thrown and blood being drawn and shit like that. I wouldn't say that happens regularly, certainly. But more dust-ups happen on good college basketball teams than you would expect. Like more, and that's and a lot of coaches see that as a good thing, is that like you're competing in practice, but more often than not, it is in practice. It is in the environment of like, you know, we're scrimmaging and there's some sort of stake on the line where, not actual meat. I'm talking like there's some sort of like the loser has to run sprints, the loser has to do XYZ. And you set up these environments, and then guys start competing, and they've been competing against each other all summer, and they've been competing against each other now for however many weeks of practice, and like it just gets heated, and something happens, they got to get split up, and then away we go, and everything's fine. And then you start playing actual games against other opponents, and that sort of animosity amongst the team goes away, which is why, you know, coaches love those early season scrimmages. It's like we got to start going up against different guys than our own guys. So that part does not shock me that there was like an incident, we'll say. It's that it elevated itself to the point that they had to turn the plane around and kick two guys off the plane and then go fly to Houston. And the fact that it was happening, I'll be honest too, like if Auburn was on a plane on the way to play like Detroit Mercy, no disrespect to them, I don't know why they're the first school I thought of. I don't know why Auburn
shot.
I don't know why Auburn would be playing at Detroit Mercy. But if they were on the plane there, I don't know if this is as big of a story. I think all of us had this game circled as like, oh my God, Auburn-Houston's going to be an awesome game. And then this comes out the night before, and you're like, oh shit, how is this going to affect the game? But yeah, it was wild. I couldn't believe it, and I still am curious to see what the fallout is and how Bruce Pearl is going to handle this, because on the one hand, you know, have these guys run sprints till they throw up, have them, you know, do whatever it is, whatever punishment you need for them to work their way back into the team. But this is a good Auburn team, and you don't want to throw away a season based on, like, we don't know what it was, what happened on the plane. We don't know why they were fighting. Do we
deserve to know? Is like Auburn has yet to make a statement. Someone has to. We can't play this game of joking, and at some point they need to say what happened.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I don't know. I don't know. You can't even speculate. There's all sorts of things it could have been.
Pearl isn't talking about it.
But whatever happens next is interesting, because like, yeah, then maybe they'll want them back in the fold somehow, because they're like, listen, we have a good team, but also, do they need them? Do they need one of these guys? Because the Auburn team I saw at Houston was long, athletic, skilled, and that. So enough with the plane flight. I want to talk about the actual game. Todd Pettiford, if he is in fact this good, which he was a 5-star recruit, and you know, I can't say enough great things about this freshman class, and you know, I shouldn't be surprised when another freshman emerges, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know about that guy. But my issues, my concerns with Auburn, basically the entire Bruce Pearl era, but especially these last few years, when not so much 2019 when they you know made the Final Four and in their mind should have won the national championship if Ty Jerome would have been called for a double dribble. But these last couple years, like the Jabari Smith team that was really, really good. Last year's team was supposed to be really, really good, and they lose in the first round to Yale. The last couple seasons, the Auburn guards I've been a broken record every time I talk about Auburn. I'm just like Auburn guards. And basically what I'm saying by Auburn guards is KD Johnson, and he's the guy that I have not trusted. But Wendell Green was in the same boat. The Wendell Green KD Johnson guard tandem with Jabari Smith would drive me fucking nuts all season long. I would watch them, and then it came to a head. They played. They lost to Miami. I think it was Miami in the. In 23 they lost, or 2023 they lose to Miami in the second round, Sweet 16, second round, and it wasn't. What was the score? I remember
79-61.
They got their ass kicked. Yeah. They got their ass kicked.
Auburn was the 2 seed.
And it wasn't all on the guards, but it was like that was a huge aha moment for me. It was like I was concerned about this all year. As great as Jabari was all season, I don't trust their guards. Last year was much of the same. It was like Janai Broome. Yeah, he's one of the best players in the country. I don't know if I trust their guard play. Like they need guys who can put the ball in their hands in NCAA tournament situations, make plays, have some sort of creativity offensively. And so going into this season, it's not that I didn't trust their guards. It's that has been a consistent problem for me. And I was like, I need to see something from the Auburn guards before I buy in. When Jim Root was on the show a couple weeks ago, I asked him the same thing. He likes Pegas. How do you say his name? Pegas. He liked that kid, the transfer they brought in. He didn't have a good game against Houston. Pettiford was a name that was thrown out as like he's going to be good, but it's like, how much are we going to trust freshmen? So I don't know. I was still in a wait and see situation, and if Todd Pettiford is as good as he showed against Houston, which I have every reason to believe he is, because against one of the best defenses in the country, if you can play like that, if he is that good, the sky is the limit for Auburn, because that is the only concern I've ever had for them in the last few years is, do they have guards that one, can play within themselves, but two, have just offensive creativity and have some sort of like ability to draw two on defense and then find the open man, and like the KD Johnson, it's basically just KD Johnson, and that's basically it. It's KD Johnson on Auburn would drive me fucking nuts, and I'm sure Auburn fans were driven nuts by him too, which is why he was probably shown the door by Bruce Pearl and is not at Auburn anymore. But he was a chucker. He was not a guy that would play within the flow of the offense. He was not a guy that would realize that he is not the best player on the team. And the last couple of years have been really frustrating to watch Auburn and think like, yeah, there's a good team in there, and they're winning a lot of games against good teams, and I know their record is good and their resume is good, but I just don't trust them. And if they have Todd Pettiford playing at this level, to go along with the length that they have defensively, to go along with that press defense that like wasn't forcing a ton of turnovers against Houston, but was obviously a nuisance for Houston, I can't be any higher on Auburn coming out. It was a snap of a finger, and I really think it's just because of Todd Bedford.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it looked like those two teams came out intense, up in your face. The defense is going to be ready well before the offense. Those two teams looked like long tournament-ready teams. The difference was Auburn had dudes that could put the ball in the hoop, and Houston didn't. Like, Pettiford was the one dude on the court that when you gave him the ball, he was going to make a play. You even talked about Broome yet. I thought Broome was incredible. 10 of 15, 20 points, 9 rebounds.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the two best scorers on the court in a defensive slugfest type of game.
Yeah, the first half was a rock fight, which I think was to be expected with these. They might be the two best defenses in the country. I think Iowa State would have something to say about that. Tennessee probably does. Duke probably does. I don't even know who else. I would say those five. Of those five, yeah, those are probably your five best. The best defensive team in the country is one of those five. But yeah, they might be number one and number two best defenses. Mm-hmm. And the first half was like a feeling out thing of, I don't want to say it was bad basketball, because I love good defense, but it just felt like both offenses were trying to figure out how to crack the defense. Like Houston, like I said, the Auburn press, it wasn't like Houston was throwing it all over the gym, but they were very obviously having problems getting the ball in bounds, and they were very obviously disrupted by the length of Auburn. And then in the second half, Auburn, I thought the difference was Auburn pushed tempo. Houston wants to slow the game down. Auburn does not.
Auburn scored 46 points in the second half.
And Pettiford was pushing tempo. He was hitting shots. It wasn't just he was hitting shots. It was that he was hitting to to score against Houston, to consistently score against Houston, and to give Houston's defense problems, you have to be great. You have to have great individual talent because you're not going to get a lot of open shots. And if you're only relying on like let's unlock this, this lock that's in front of us and turn the knob this way, then turn it this way, and let's dribble this many times and kick it out, and then make this many extra passes, and then we'll get an open shot. If that's your strategy to beating Houston, you're in for a long night because you're just not. They rotate so well. They're so fundamentally disciplined. You're not going to get a lot of open shots. So it's ultimately going to come down to you're going to have to play good defense on their offense and just turn it into like kind of what the first half was, which is a slugfest. Like, have a game where you win 53-49. That's how you beat them. Or you're going to have to push tempo, which Auburn did, or you're going to have great individual efforts offensively where you have guys who kind of create something out of nothing, who can come off a ball screen, and just rise up and hit a shot, who can catch a ball on a swing the ball is getting swung around the perimeter. He catches it, he's got a guy in his face, but he hits him with a one dribble step back three, and the Houston defense is like, this is typically a shot that we want guys to take because that's not necessarily a great shot. But Pettiford's able to make it. And when he started hitting those and when he was pushing tempo, I felt, from my perspective, and maybe I'm overstating it, but I felt like Houston's defense didn't get desperate would be overstating it, but Houston's defense got a little, like the fundamentals started to erode a little bit. Houston started, and you saw Pettifor get the ball in his hands, and they're running two onto the ball quickly. Like he's coming off ball.
And that's not what they wanted.
They didn't want to do that, and they're running two on the ball, and then all of a sudden the ball rotates, and Janai Broom's wide open under the bucket, and his defender's running over to rotate, and he's laying it in real quick. And so to me, like Pettifor was, I mean, he was the leading scorer, right? He had 21, and Broom had 20.
Correct.
He was a leading scorer, so it's easy to say that he was the best player on the floor. But I thought he was, beyond just the fact that he scored the most for Auburn, I thought he changed the tenor of the game very obviously for me, where Houston was on their back heels a little bit defensively, which is very hard to get them to do. And that's why coming out of that game, it was less like, oh, Todd Pettiford is like hitting threes, or he just kind of had a good game. It was more like this guy, this freshman, this 6'1" freshman guard just unlocked maybe the best defense we've had in college basketball the last 5 years. He just, like, in game 2 of his career. By the way, after game 1, he did not play well.
Well, that's the thing.
And in game 2, he's like going up against the best defense, and he just figured him out.
If you wanted to point out that this is not a flash in the pan, he's a top 35 recruit. He's a 4-star, whatever. My point is, they scored 94 points. Auburn did in their first game. He had 0 of them. Yeah. So you could make the argument like, hey, everyone, dude comes off the bench, has a big-time shooting game, changed the game. But that's not all the case. He shot well. He also did other things with the basketball that impacted why Auburn's offense was better than Houston.
He was a 4-star recruit?
He's 35th overall.
No shit?
Yeah. 35th. Find me 34 people that played. And he did it. Listen, we're talking Cooper Flagg. We're talking Conklin. They're going to do it against Army and against Maine. Pettiford just did it against Houston. In Houston.
Crazy.
Hey, you ready for you know who they play in the Maui when you're out there?
Auburn has.
First game.
Iowa State, right?
Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Oh, that's going to suck for you.
That's going to be that's going to be a good ball game. Yeah. I really hate that I have to go out there. You know how long that flight is, dude?
Yes.
It's
I feel bad, but
it's brutal. It's fucking brutal just to fly. But I'm the hardest working man in show business, and that's what my audience wants is boots on the ground in Maui. That's what I'm going to give them.
Yep, you're doing it for them.
Yeah, I'm not going to enjoy it, but I will. If I have to, I will go to Paradise and watch 2 of the best teams in.
How's the bracket made? Do you have any idea? The Maui bracket. The
Maui bracket. I have suspicions. This is a the how do I say this? The how it was made was put in front of me, and it was in a box, and there was a curtain over top of it, and I had the opportunity to peel the curtain back and look inside, and I just said, please take that away.
Yeah, you guys can keep that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying.
We used to have the other Tate and I used to have we used to have the scoop for Maui. They used to always give us the bracket
beforehand.
Beforehand, and then we would break it on our show. And then we would ask. Like I remember thinking like, should I ask? And they're like, do you guys want to know why we did it this way? And I was like, I don't.
All I'm asking
I don't
for,
think I do. But what's the bad matchup?
So Colorado, Michigan State. I would like to sub Auburn or Iowa State. So then you would have UConn, Auburn, Iowa State, North Carolina.
Assuming there's no upsets. Yeah.
Correct.
It's going to be a great tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The Houston part of the Auburn the Auburn win over Houston. We should talk about Houston. I think Houston played great. I think this to me was a game where one team has to win, one team has to lose, and I'm not going to come away from it being like, damn, Houston was overrated at 4 because they lost in Houston to the number 11 team. Auburn's better than the number 11 team. Secondly, I think Houston's defense is great. I think Todd Pettiford just had a great individual effort, and we should say that like. They count just the same. Auburn did bank in 2 threes in the first half, and there was some stuff like that like I think Houston was Houston had the lead at halftime, so maybe
Houston
that's
led
not that,
most of
the way. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but you do wonder if like Auburn, this idea that Auburn was like shooting well, which they didn't even shoot well. They were 7 for 23, and 2 of those were banked in from 3. So it's like how much of it was Houston kind of overreacting to Pettiford? How much of it, looking back, like, yeah, you maybe could have controlled tempo a little bit more and built some walls in transition and not let Pettiford push tempo quite as much. But I thought their defense was fine, even though Pettiford had the great game and Broome was, down the stretch awesome for Auburn as well. And they, like you said, they scored 46 points in the second half, which isn't great. But I thought Houston played great defense, and I actually. As much as it feels like Houston doesn't have a ton of offensive creativity, I keep going back to that, just offensive creativity with a lot of these teams, because a lot of these defensive-minded teams, like that's the problem they have, is not necessarily scoring. It's like guys who can create something out of nothing. Uzon was in foul trouble the whole game. He fouls out. Their point guard, when your point guard is dealing with foul trouble all game, like that's not a great spot to be in. I thought Emmanuel Sharp shot the ball well, and he was fine. And the pieces are there. I mean, LJ Cryer is one of the best shooters in the country. He didn't play particularly well in this game, but by his standards. But he's going to be fine for them. Sharp's fine for them. Uzon is going to be a good point guard that can create stuff for them. And then Jawan Roberts, he had his like little stretch there in the second half where like he was like the guy they would give the ball to, and he was going 1-on-1 in the post and scoring and so. For me, with Houston, I'll never question the defense. I'll never question the culture. Last year, you questioned the depth a little bit as injuries started racking up. But the one question you would ever have for Houston would be not do they have scorers, because they've always had like 1 or 2 guys that can get buckets. It's more of, again, to be a broken record, it's like the offensive creativity. It's like the guys who can make something out of nothing and feel comfortable doing it. And I do think I saw enough to see the vision with that with Houston. And even if they don't quite have that, they're still going to be fine because they're going to play unbelievable defense and they're very well coached. But I think Houston will. Yeah, I think Houston and Auburn are going to be top 10 teams the entire season.
Yeah, Houston. At the end of the day, the story is that Auburn went into the Toyota Center and with all the drama surrounding it, Pettiford came out. Everything was great. Auburn's the story. Houston had a 1-point lead with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Like Houston very well.
It was like 2 plays. They had like the turnover on the – there was the bad pat on the I think it was Sharp. I think Roberts set a ball screen for Sharp, and then Roberts like rolls, and Sharp tried to throw like a pocket pass, but he threw it too quick and it hit off his ankles. And then there was a turnover, if I remember right. But then there's a scramble, and then there's a foul, and then Auburn goes and shoots free throws. And it's like if it's like 1 or 2 plays is ultimately what this game came down to, and I don't want to overreact and be like,
yeah, if those
Houston's a fraud.
I mean, they led with 2 minutes to go. If the other 2 minutes go differently, we're coming in here saying, Houston had 5 players in double figures. Their defense, they were very balanced scoring. LJ Cryer didn't shoot well, and they still won. So we're not out on Houston. Credit to Auburn though.
Yeah.
What a game.
Auburn's length is crazy. I mean, Dylan Cardwell being able to. There was the play. He only had 2 points. That was it.
1 rebound and impacted the game. I felt.
Is that so?
That seems weird.
He only had 2. But I was going to say
he shot the ball once.
Well, I remember when he shot the ball because he denied the top of the key. They were trying to pass it to the big man at the top of the key to initiate a set. Houston was, and Dylan Cardwell just denied the pass. Went coast to coast and flushed it, and I was like, "That's not fair." To have a guy like that. Those are the only points of the game. That's crazy. Yeah, Auburn's length is bonkers. The fact that you can play Cardwell at the 5 and Broom at the 4, and it works. Baker Mazzara is a doofus, but he is also 6'7". He's a doofus. He is. I mean, I've seen enough of this guy to realize he's the Yale game he gets ejected, and he was a problem all season for them, being a little bit of a hothead. But the reason I think Bruce Pearl likes him is if you can pull back the hot-headedness a little bit and just tell him hey man, you're 6'7" with long arms, go be a menace defensively. I think he'll be a useful tool for them if he can harness it a little bit. But his length is undeniable, and everybody off the bench feels like they're all 6'6". Pettiford's the only guy that looks like a normal sized human being out there.
Pettiford's 6'1".
He's 6'1", and the rest of it feels like every other person that sees the floor is 6'5" or taller.
Tall and long. Yep.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I've seen enough. I think I love this Auburn team. That's all it takes. It's just. Yeah, I don't know. I had questions about that, but Pettiford, I hopefully he keeps this up. Hopefully this is who he is. This wasn't just a flash in the pan thing for him. But it's hard to imagine it being. If this was a flash in the pan, that's a hell of a team.
Yeah, that's
half the flash in the pan.
What a one-hit wonder. We'll find out though. Iowa State, Duke, Ohio State, Purdue, Texas, all coming up soon.
Yeah, Buckeyes do have Auburn, huh? We got them on the horizon.
Noon game.
Great opportunity, as they say in the coach ad. Do you use that? Use that when you were coaching?
If you're the underdogs.
Yeah, when the under. This is a great opportunity tonight to hopefully not get our ass kicked. The Mark Titus Show is brought to you by DraftKings. The Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All 30 teams split into 6 groups every Tuesday and Friday, playing for the right to advance in the single elimination in-season tourney, culminating in the NBA Cup championship in Vegas. Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the best place to bet, NBA player props. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking how many points your favorite player will have. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. First time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Titus. That's code Titus, Titus, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Let's talk about Kansas, Carolina a little bit. Kansas builds a 20-point lead in the first half. They score 53 points at halftime, or in the first half. At halftime, Kansas has 53 points, is up, I believe, 15. Did it end up being 15? They're up 17, and then the buzzer.
They were up 15 at the half.
Yeah, the tip-in counted to make it 15-point lead. Kansas was rolling. It was, like I said at the top, Zeke Mayo was what they haven't had these last couple years. Mm-hmm. He, all preseason when I was talking about Kansas, I was saying these transfers they have of Rylan Griffin and Zeke Mayo and A.J. Storr. I never even brought up Coit, who is starting for them. David Coit, Northern Illinois, I think he came from. He was not even on my radar. Somehow he has become a starter for Bill Self. I don't think that he will be a starter
he
for long.
0 points.
I don't know why he's starting other than just Self trying to send a message to some of the other guys. Or he's just a great – I think I'm guessing he's an intangibles guy, but DeJuan Harris is kind of that. I don't think you need – I don't know. Anyway, Coit, of all the transfers, Coit was not on my radar as the difference maker. And then you look up and Kansas season starts and Coit's starting for them. But I was saying in the preseason that between Storr and Griffin and Mayo, they really only need to hit on one. Hopefully they hit on two, and in the best case scenario, they hit on all three, and all three of those guys become scorers for them and bring some offensive firepower that they haven't had. And Zeke Mayo, and in this game, all three of them did have their flashes where it was that's why you go in the portal and pick up these guys. But Zeke Mayo was the difference in the sense that he was a guy. I keep going back to it, just the versatility, the creativity, a guy who can not only hit threes but can create problems like putting the ball on the floor a little bit. And you're not watching Kansas offense and just seeing what felt like at times last year like an 8th grade offense where it's okay, you're the center. Now what the center does is he runs to here and he sets a screen here and then he turns and puts his hands up like this. Now you're the point guard, DeJuan. What the point guard does is you dribble to here. And it just felt very stagnant and frankly disgusting offense to watch at times last year. And I felt like the first half was what what Kansas basketball envisioned bringing in these guys in the portal was just like free-flowing offense. You're getting up and going in transition. You're getting open threes and taking them confidently and hitting them. And Rylan Griffin was hitting some, and Storrs getting out in transition, catching lobs, and I thought everything was rolling, right? And this was, so to me, this game was the story of Kansas, because the first half was like, that's what Kansas should be. That's what offensively we've been hoping to see from a roster that jumps off the page at you. And then in the second half, that is the worst case scenario for Kansas, in the sense that the guy who is your best player, the guy who is your franchise player, the guy who is on everyone's preseason All-American team, the guy who was on my when we put together our top 10 players in college basketball, I threw him on there because his skill set offensively is undeniable, in the sense that Hunter Dickinson is the guy I'm talking about, by the way. He is very, very, very good. He is elite at sealing off his man. Whether if the guy is, if you're fronting Hunter Dickinson, that's an automatic too, because Kansas is going to load the ball side. They're gonna create a situation where there's no help. Hunter Dickinson is going to seal him off. You're going to throw it over the top. He's going to catch it. He's going to lay it in every single time. He's elite at that. If you don't front him, he is going to drive his ass down to the block. He is going to do a good job of putting up his field goal hands, and like just walling off his defender. He's going to create a huge target. They're going to dump it into him, and he's going to get low enough or close enough to the bucket that he's going to be able to turn around over his right shoulder and hit a baby hook with his left hand over and over and over and over again. He is elite at that. Hunter Dickinson sucks at everything else, Tate. He sucks at everything else. And I have done my best to mend fences, to build bridges, I was not a Hunter Dickinson guy for a while. And then I felt like I was going too far, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't think it's fair to say he's not a good basketball player, because of what I just said. He's undeniably great at certain things, and he does make a difference, and he can be an automatic bucket, and he can shoot the three, and he can pass well, and like it's not fair to say he sucks as a basketball player. So then I went the other way, and I was like, have I been too hard on him throughout his career and all that? And now I think I'm ready to swing back, and I'm like, why would I fall into this trap of believing that he's one of the 10 best players in the country?
I would like to hear some reasoning then. What type of things because at the end of the day, he was a double-double against a North Carolina team that they just beat. He's going to be a first-team All-American. Probably his name carries a lot of weight, obviously, but what are some things you're seeing that says Mr. Double-Double's not good? This
is the problem, is he's a double-double, and I do have to respect that. That's why you can't get carried away, and I know a lot of people that watch and listen to the show are like, yeah, man, Hunter sucks. Like, I've watched him for 5 years now, and he's the exact same player he was at Michigan his freshman year. And I hate that we have to keep pretending like this guy's awesome. But at the same time, you can't. He is a double-double machine. He's going to average like 21 and 12 this year, probably. He's going to do it for a team
for the number one team.
Yeah, for the number one team in the country. So it's like hard to argue against his All-American candidacy, and yet every time you watch Kansas play, he is. I want to call him a traffic cone on defense. I think a traffic cone would be better defensively.
Wow.
I think I would rather have a traffic cone hedge a ball screen than Hunter Dickinson if I'm Kansas. His feet are shockingly bad. Like, we know he can't move his feet, and I've seen it for 5 years now, Tate, that he can't move his feet. And I still, every time I watch him try to guard a ball screen, every time I see him in space playing defense, I'm still shocked at what I'm seeing. It's crazy because he's like dudes drive at him, and when they turn the corner, it is the most slow motion. Like he's giving it all these, like, it looks like he's like paralyzed from the waist down. Like he's like trying to, like, looks like he's literally taking his hands, picking up his left leg and pulling it over here, and then picking up his right leg and pulling it over here. It is just like stunning.
He is 7'2", 265. You're saying that you want him to be a little more fleet on the feet? That's the problem?
Yes, I want to see him. He's not much of a rim protector. He will block shots every so often because he's so big, and then like he'll have a stat line where he gets like 3 block shots. He is the all-time you have to watch the games guy. Okay. Because his box score will jump out at you. And yeah, like you said, he's the number one team in the country. They beat North Carolina, who's the top 10 team. He has a double-double. If you didn't watch that game and you looked at the box score, you'd be like, monster game from Hunter Dickinson. If you watched 3 North Carolina possessions in the second half, you would. And especially if you're a Kansas fan, there's probably part of you that's like, get this guy out of here. What are we doing? But you can't take him out because he's so important offensively.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Do you think that's going to come back to bite them then? Are you saying – because this Kansas team, first of all, the fact that they've got the Summit League Player of the Year and all Big Ten, AJ Storr coming off the bench right now.
Right.
That's the difference between this year and last year. Is like they hit on their targets, and the depth they have is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Are you saying that if this number one team in the country is to fall, it's going to be because of their best player?
It might be because their best player is a liability, but their best player is also their best player.
Yeah. What do you think Bill Self thinks?
I'm trying to think because like who if he's not their best, like Bill Self probably thinks DeJuan Harris is their best. Kansas fans are probably like DeJuan Harris is our best player. He runs the point. He's great defensively.
But then you look at the
they're probably right. But also if you get in a situation where if you had a team full of 5 DeJuan Harrises, you're not scoring the basketball. You're just like he's got to be able to roll. He's got to be able to come off of screens and dump it to the guys
somebody
who can
will
then score the basketball. Yeah, or find
the Hunter Dickinson.
Yes, he's got to find the open man. So like DeJuan Harris, yes, I agree. Like I see the same things that Bill Self sees, and I love him for the same reasons Bill Self loves him. But like, there's an obvious ceiling to his talent. I don't know. It's a very interesting problem they have. Now the one thing I will say is Flory Badunga, he's not. I'm going to be fascinated by how they use him because he in this game was I don't want to say he was perfect, but he was doing exactly what Kansas wanted him to do, which is run the floor, grab rebounds, and dunk it when you're close to the basket. That's basically it.
He played 11 minutes. He had 8 points, 8 rebounds, and he was 3 of 4 from the field. You're saying substantially better defensively than
I think
Hunter.
He's substantially better defensively.
So in that type of production, are they going to be better if he plays instead of Hunter? Which is, let me tell you this, we're not going to find out.
I don't think we are. Yeah, I don't think we're going to. We might find out. They might do defensive, offensive substitutions late in games.
I think that's the most embarrassing thing in sports. Not
really?
No. Like I love the offense defense, but you're telling me that we might have to go offense defense with the national player of the year.
Yeah, with the national player of the year. But you're not saying like a coach doing it.
No, you have to.
You have to do it. Yeah,
but like that is the biggest gut check in the world. Have you ever been part of it as a player? Have you ever been an offense defense guy?
I've never been either one guy. I was a just stay on the bench guy.
Okay, I
know, like you're talking like when I was in high school. No, like that would have been humiliating.
That would have been the most insulting gut punch in the world to be like, hey, think if you have to take Hunter Dickinson off the court with 3 minutes to go because we're on defense.
It's never insulting if you're the guy coming in
or the guy coming in.
The guy coming in, you're like, this is pretty cool. If you're the guy getting taken out though, it's like, damn, this is embarrassing. I would be sometimes on the AAU team. I would be the offensive guy. Like if we were, but we were. Rarely,
you had to be a free throw guy.
We were rarely in a situation where we needed. Yeah, it would basically be that. It'd be like we're up 7 with a minute and a half, and it's time to start fouling.
Yeah.
Or so we need free throw guys in there. I'd go in for that.
That'd feel good. You had something that the rest of your AA team didn't have.
Yeah. Sometimes it would backfire though, because the other team's pressing. You don't want the ball in my hands. That's the last thing you want is me shitting my pants. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be something to watch all season. But like I've also been saying all season with Kansas, or all preseason with Kansas, though, the reason I like them more this year than last year is that flexibility with those decisions. And if Bill Self finds himself in situations where it's like Hunter is killing us defensively, he's killing us defensively, and we have a Zeke Mayo, and we have like say Rylan Griffin's hitting his threes, and we have enough offensive firepower out there. I'm not saying he's going to do it. I'm not saying necessarily. I'm not even in a position yet where I'm arguing he should do it, but he does have that available to him where he can be like, Hunter, I got to throw you on the bench for the next 7 minutes and throw Flory out there because they really have like we need defense
perfect right sub in.
Yeah,
is what you're saying. Like they have the ability to do that.
And the good thing about Flory Badunga too is that he is. It's a good thing in certain contexts. If the rest of the guys are bringing enough offense, he is a guy that on the offensive side, he's not going to be posting up and calling for the ball and demanding the ball, and they're not going to be running plays for him. He's going to be a guy that's just taking up space, and when shots go up, he's going to crash the offensive glass, and that'll be valuable in certain contexts. But yeah, that to me, the story of this game was Kansas, good and bad. It was a tale of two halves of Kansas, and you saw what Kansas can be at their best, and you saw what they can be at their worst.
We haven't talked to Carolina, though. Carolina I mean, you have to have learned something from a team that goes down 20 at Fall Guys and comes back and has a lead by 4 late in the game.
Yeah, I mean, the what I learned is, one, that they're not ever going to be rattled, which I think I already kind of knew. I think you have R.J. Davis running the show on a team that they bring back a ton from last year, and R.J. Davis has seen it all in college basketball. So I don't think Carolina's ever going to throw in the towel. That's encouraging. I do think Carolina, when like the second half felt a little more just like hooping, a little less like. You're
saying there wasn't like a rhyme or reason why the comeback happened? Or?
I think it was Carolina just got out in space a little bit, and I think one, they were hitting free throws, which like I saw a handful of people like making the point that Carolina was not missing. At one point they were like 28 for 29 or
they
something.
finished 28 of 31, 91%.
Yeah, they shot 91% from the free throw line, but I don't think Carolina is like a bad free throw shooting team. So even if they it's not like they were like a 60% free throw shooting team, and it's like, where did this come from? Even if they shot their normal, that's the difference between like 3 points.
Yeah,
you know?
correct.
So I don't think that was that crazy. I just think they were more confident offensively. They just in the second half they were just playing. I don't know how else to describe it. It felt to me like they were just hooping because they were like, fuck, we're down 15, we were down 20, we got nothing to lose. Let's not play as uptight. Let's not overthink it. Let's just take shots confidently and
is that something you can do from the jump?
Yeah, I would like to see that from the jump. Yeah. But yeah, Jalen Withers going 3 for 5 from 3 is fucking bonkers. He hit 4 threes all of last season. I think he's already hit more than 4 this season. So yeah, I'm still interested to see what Carolina's rotations are going to look like. I still think Hubert Davis is figuring out who he likes and who he doesn't. And like Cade Tyson, the transfer, the white kid from Belmont that they brought in, I think in the exhibitions and the lead up to basically this Kansas game, there was an argument to be made that he might need to start for them. There was an argument that he's going to be a very valuable 6th man. Whatever. I think he was thought to be an important piece. In this game, he almost had a trillion. He was 0 for 1 from the field. He played 1 minute. So like I think Carolina's still in that feeling it out process, which is interesting because you bring back Davis and Trimble and Cadeau and Withers and Washington. All 5 of your starters are guys that were on the team last year. And yet I still think that they are searching for a little bit of lineup answers. But yeah, when they're just hooping, I think Carolina, the talent is obvious. They just feel like they're I don't know how else to put it. They just feel like they're searching for lineup answers, and they feel like they're searching for something other than R.J. Davis and Elliot Cadeau.
Did you feel from watching
chucking shots a little bit?
So like if you want to like step back and look at the box score and look at the result, they lost by 3 at Kansas. First of all, shout out that this wasn't a neutral site game. I absolutely love that. They lost by 3 at Kansas, and R.J. Davis went 3 of 15. You have to be taking that as like a moral. Is this a team that can play in the Final Four?
Probably a moral victory, but also, this is just kind of what, like, I think R.J. Davis going 3 for 15 is something that's going to happen fairly often.
Yeah, you basically hit the nail on the head when you.
Yeah, I feel like that's just kind of what they are, and I would like to see R.J. not shoot so much, but that's just kind of in his DNA, and I think that's what I don't think he's necessarily. He feels like a different breed of chucker to me. Like he's obviously a chucker, but it does feel like he's got like the Kobe thing where he's like, this is just what I have to do to help this team win, because I have to remind the defense that I'll pull from anywhere, and that opens up so much. I have to, if I get to a point where I'm not shooting a lot, the defense isn't. I don't have the gravity to pull guys out to guard me, to open up shit for other people. I think that's going through his head a little bit. I don't know. There's just like I would like to see RJ not, have that feeling that he needs to score 25 points every time he takes the floor. But at the same time, I think Carolina fans that watch more closely than I do might argue like that's what makes Carolina good, is when RJ Davis has that attitude. And I think that's why I'm stuck in this middle ground of trying to figure them out right now, is because I'm just like in a mental tug of war of like, is that good for Carolina? Is what you just said, like, is them losing by 3 but RJ Davis going 3 for 15? Is it like this is this is a good thing, or is that proof positive that maybe RJ Davis shouldn't have shot as much and we could have gotten other guys involved more, and maybe we don't lose by 3. Maybe we win the ball game.
Could be.
Elliot Cadeau is 3 for 11 as well. 0 for 3 from 3. He's if he's hitting threes, I want to see him. That's a big question mark for me too. Is Cadeau couldn't shoot last year, and there was hope this year that he would knock down shots, and I don't want to overreact to one game. So hopefully his jump shot comes along. But yeah, I'm worried Hubert's going to devolve to just like, I got my guys I'm playing. I'm rolling out like 5.5 guys. Like one of the freshmen, whether it's Powell or Jackson. Like Jackson had a good game in this one. Powell didn't play quite as well. I assume he's going to play both of them throughout the season, but like I'm worried that we're going to just whittle it down to a 5 or 6 man rotation. But I don't know. They're sort of figuring out who they trust, and that's really weird for a team that brings back 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Kansas is I don't know. I don't know if Kansas is the number 1 team in the country.
Really?
I'll put it that way. To have to be number 1 and beat a top 10 team, you feel like that should solidify. But I think Gonzaga, after they beat Baylor, had a case.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga yesterday against Arizona State was
who we shit on this program. Well, not shit on,
dude. If you want to do the transitive thing right now, which this could be a good segue to Baylor Arkansas talk. Gonzaga is, I think if my math was right, if Gonzaga played Arkansas,
mm-hmm.
if Duke played Arkansas, I'm sorry. Duke played Arkansas because Duke beat the fuck out of Arizona State.
Like 65, legitimate.
Gonzaga struggled. Then Gonzaga beat the shit out of Baylor. Baylor beat Arkansas fairly easy. It was only a 5-point game, but they were in control of that game from start to finish. I think Duke would beat Arkansas by 91? 91, I think. I think they'd win by 91. Yeah, Gonzaga struggled yesterday. Gonzaga doesn't have rim. What was evident was Gonzaga does not have rim protection, and that might be a problem for them moving forward. And they are way too comfortable giving up buckets because they know they're going to score on the other end. They're going to have, if not the best offense in the country all season, they're going to be a top 3 offense in college basketball season, probably number 1. And they know it. And I think that's the worry for Gonzaga moving forward is, 1, they don't really have the personnel to protect the rim, but 2, I don't think they have the want to protect the rim. And I think they're watching that yesterday. They seemed a little too lackadaisical with like, yeah, it's fine. We'll be able to score. Yeah, we'll give up. We'll let Arizona State get to the bucket, lay it in, and then we'll just hit a 3 on the other end. We'll trade 2 for 3, and we'll win the ball game. And more often than not, that's going to work for them. But that was.
Yeah, something doesn't add up.
Slightly concerning yesterday. Like, Arizona State's not that good of a basketball
and they had just come off. Arizona State just played Idaho State and scored 55 points.
Yeah,
and then they go play Gonzaga and score 80.
Arizona State does have talent, so like by the end of the year, Arizona State might be something. They are going to play in the Big 12 though and stack a bunch of losses. So I don't know. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arizona State wins like 1 or 2 games this year that they have no business winning. So maybe that's not. Maybe we'll look back on the Gonzaga game yesterday, not be that stunned, but that was a worry. Anyway, to put a bow on all that, I think Auburn and Alabama might be the top 2 teams in the country.
Would be your top 2,
which is crazy.
We haven't seen
that Auburn Bama have positioned them. That rivalry is far more interesting to me with basketball than football.
If we're throwing Alabama up there right now, they haven't done anything other than blow out bad teams, right? Mm. I want Duke in that conversation then too because I'm excited.
I would throw Duke in that conversation. I would. But yeah, I don't know if I think Kansas is they're better than they were last year, but yeah, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to watch them all season because Hunter Dickinson might be a problem for them. Pivoting to Baylor Arkansas, this game was a game that if you watched the first 5 minutes of the game, you could have turned it off, gone about your day. And you could have participated in any conversation about this game and been spot on about everything that happened.
Mm-hmm. You didn't even really need to watch the first 5 minutes. If you just knew who was coaching on Arkansas sidelines.
You didn't even need to watch any of this game. You could have just taken an educated guess, and you would have been absolutely right as to what happened, which is that Baylor comes out in a zone, which they play from time to time. They play a lot of it, actually. This has been Scott Drew's been doing this for a long time.
We talked about it on our last show that they play it.
Yeah. Scott Drew has loved a matchup zone for as long as I've been paying attention to Scott Drew coaching basketball. He's been throwing out amoeba zone defenses that are matchup zones that are at times in the past and certainly against Gonzaga as well. I'm talking like when I say past, like 10, 15 years ago, and then also like the game against Gonzaga. At times, the Scott Drew zone defense philosophy has been they can't know what we're playing if we don't know what we're playing. And Baylor's like, you watch Baylor and they're just kind of running around out there and like the switches don't make really any sense. And some guys are switching, some guys aren't. It looks like half man-to-man, half zone, and it'll work, but then also it will not work, and when it doesn't work, it's a complete disaster. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. In this game, Baylor comes out in the zone. In Arkansas, I would say, and I don't have it in front of me, but I'm just trying to remember, I would say the first 41 possessions, Arkansas just stood there and passed the ball around the perimeter, did the windshield wiper passing, and chucked up a three. I think it was the entire first half, and then halfway through it was crazy.
Coach Cal is 65 years old. I think he's been a coach for 43 years now. He played college basketball before that. I can't believe he's been around the game of basketball for 60 years, and this is the first time he's seen his own. And it's what it looked like.
Yeah. That's what Arkansas is going to have problems in half court offense. You pointed this out pretty much within 10 seconds of watching Arkansas. It's becoming more and more evident. They have athletes, they have talent. I don't know if they can shoot the ball, but beyond, it's not even just that they can't. It's like the zone offense. It's not just that they like are getting wide open shots and then bricking them. It's that they are not, other than Thero, who changed his name by the way. Other than him, there's like awesome. Nobody like initiating anything. There's no cutting. There was no like, you could at least penetrate and kick in a zone. And like the misconception, as you know, because you've coached lower level basketball at that level. At that level,
I don't know if that was where did that come from?
What, were you coaching high major college basketball, Tate? I'm sorry.
4-time regional district champion.
But you know that the trap you fall into at like fucking lower level basketball is like when you see a zone defense, you just freeze and you stand there and you pass the ball, and the way to attack it is you get it the high post, you get into the short corner, you can still penetrate it.
100%.
Then we're doing any of that shit.
There's multiple things you can do against the zone. First of all, people think that if you chuck up a bunch of threes against the zone, it's just ultimately bad. That's not true. If you get the ball to the middle, attack, they collapse, and you kick it out to the corner, that's a great shot. The problem is Arkansas was just throwing it back and forth, and then someone would shoot it. My second problem is you got to put someone in that logo position right on the nail who will catch the ball, turn and face, and make a play.
Right.
They had dudes who their shoulders never even turned. They would catch it and they would skip it. They would catch it.
Yeah.
I need someone, and Thero did it. Big Z
was just floating around out there. I don't know what he was doing.
They would rather go out to the 3-point line than turn. They need to put a playmaker right in the middle and say, hey, we need to get the ball to the nail, and then he needs to make a play.
Yeah. Baylor, it felt like Baylor was mixing up the defense so much. It felt like Arkansas at no point in time had any idea what defense Baylor was even
correct.
In. Like they knew they were playing zone, but I don't even think they realized. Like Baylor was in the second half, especially I didn't see it much in the first half, but in the second half Baylor would throw out the 1-3-1, and then on the first or second pass they would switch to a switching man.
Awesome, yeah.
They do a lot of that. That's a Baylor again. They've done that through the years forever. They'll show 1-3-1 and fall into a 2-3. They'll show 1-3-1, fall into a 3-2. They'll show a 2-3, stay in a 2-3. They'll show a 3-2, go to a 2-3 and make it immediate. Like they throw some shit out there. But with the changing defenses, it felt like Arkansas to me felt like a team that again I just keep going back to like 8th grade basketball where like you had like your zone offense and like you would bring the ball up the floor and you would see guys standing and the defense is standing. There's 2 here and then there's 3 on the back line. You turn to the coach, you'd be like, zone offense. And they'd be like, all right, now we're going to run the zone offense. And you bring the ball up the floor and then you start doing the zone offense. Except this isn't 8th grade, and on the first pass, you walk into a 1-3-1, and on the first pass, they go to a switching man, and Arkansas is like still running like they're still like standing around out there and seemingly running like 8th grade zone offense, and it's like I want to pause the game and go out there and shake them all and be like, you realize they're running man now, you realize they're switching man to man, right?
Which It all looks better if they get a little bit of penetration. I don't care if you're
Yeah.
in man. I don't care if you're in zone. They were passing the ball back and forth. They wanted to do like the archaic, like, all right, go to the baseline. He rolls down the middle. You score. No, someone needs to put some pressure on the defense more than just skipping the ball back and forth.
Yeah. Arkansas is going to be fine insofar as they have talent and athletes to get out and go and transition. I think they could theoretically be a good defensive team. I think that they will, as easy as it is to say, like, just keep Arkansas in half court offense and you'll be able to slow them down. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. And I think Arkansas is going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year because, like, Boogie Fland and John L. Davis is going to shoot the ball better than he did in this game. And Thero is fucking awesome. And Big Z is going to have his – like, the talent is evident. It is a John Calipari team, and they're going to be fine in transition. And I think in the SEC especially, when you have teams like Auburn and Bama that want to push pace, I'm not in a position to call an Arkansas upset over those two teams, but you have a Kentucky team that's going to want to do the same. They want to run. You're going to have a lot of these teams in league play that are good teams that are going to want to run, and Arkansas is going to knock off a couple of them, and they're going to be back into the national conversation as like, oh shit, Arkansas, that's a team I forgot about. Like, maybe we should be taking Arkansas seriously as a Final Four team. But then they're going to play like a Tennessee who's going to slow it down, who's going to make them run half-court offense, and Arkansas has a long way to go with the half-court offense, which should not be a surprise.
The announcers kept saying, do you think that after seeing how they've played against this zone today, is this something they're going to see throughout the year? It better be.
Yeah.
And the question is, like you just said, are teams going to change their identity because it's the best way to beat Arkansas, or are they going to run with them?
Yeah.
Because the only way Arkansas beats a team is by running, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen when they play another team that wants to run?
They're not going to change. I'm telling you, Auburn and Bama are not going to change.
So it's just going to be
they're
110 to 104.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That's how Arkansas can get a huge win. And they will at some point, like you said.
I think they're going to get huge wins, but I think they're also going to have games like the game against Baylor where you watch 3 possessions and then you're like, all right, I think I have a good idea. Let's see if they get better at this. And then the game wears on. You're like, oh no, they have not solved this even a little bit. And this is a bad Baylor defense. That's
correct.
What's crazy. That's what's crazy.
This
is a bad Baylor. This is not Houston they're playing against.
They came out in the second half, and the most excited I was for the game was first possession of the second half. What is Coach Cal? What had he just done in his entire halftime? First of all, I wanted Baylor to come out and man. So it was just like a big fuck you. Like, you just talked for 20 minutes about my zone. But they still didn't change anything. There was no adjustments.
No, Arkansas will they'll have games where they play great defense, force turnovers, get out in transition, grab rebounds, push it. Even on made buckets, maybe they push it a little bit, and they'll be fine. But yeah, not a great showing from Arkansas. The Mark Titus Show is sponsored by Jack Black. Jack Black just came out with 4 new scents of their #1 deodorant, Pit Boss. Their deodorant is the best at controlling odor and wetness no matter what I'm doing. And now I can have my cleanser, lotion, and antiperspirant all in my favorite scent, which is a total game changer. Jack Black's original Pit Boss deodorant is a top seller, and now you can get the same reliable odor and wetness protection in 4 new masculine scents. Big Sur offers a refreshing aroma that mixes marine accord and amber. Blue Midnight features adventurous notes of black pepper and lavender. Jack Zen presents a grounding blend of bamboo and violet. Jack Black was founded over 20 years ago with the goal of offering men's body care products that were just as effective as women's body care products. Their commitment to superior skincare has made Jack Black, according to Circana, the number one men's body care brand by total dollar sales. If you want simple, effective products that do what they say they're going to do, you need Jack Black. Head to getjackblack.com/Titus to use code Titus, Titus, 10% off your order plus free shipping. Once again, getjackblack.com/Titus, 10% off your order, free shipping. Make sure you use promo code Titus so they know I sent you. Get some Jack Black in your life, just like I have it in mine, and it is an absolute game changer. You'll be glad you did. Lastly, last game I want to talk about, and then we can wrap this up. Tennessee beats Louisville by 22. Kind of a ho-hum game, which is apologies to Tennessee fans that maybe are excited about a big win, and we're hoping that we would, maybe not open the show, but spend a little time talking about it.
Don't go up 12-3 to start the game.
Yeah, maybe don't jump out to a huge lead and have the game be over before it starts. I'll say this about Tennessee. I said it at the top. Tennessee, that's just kind of the theme of the weekend for me is offensive creativity. Offensive creativity. Do you have guys offensively that you can give the ball to and say, go get us a bucket. Tennessee 2 years ago, Tyreek Key, the transfer from Indiana State, was supposed to be that guy. He wasn't quite the level they wanted him to be, and I think Tennessee as a team suffered because of that. And they are always going to play great defense. They're always going to be very, very physical and turn games into rock fights. And they can take care of the ball, and they can, they can score in certain contexts where they can grab offensive rebounds and put it back in and, hit wide open shots from time to time. But like you're not inspired watching them play offense, right? Mm-hmm. And 2 years ago, Rick Barnes realized he had this problem within his program where he's like, I have put all my eggs into the defensive basket. I have relied on, trying to hold teams to under 50 points, and that's how we're going to win. And we win a lot of regular season games, but then the NCAA tournament rolls around, and we have problems because there is no plan B. And if teams are lighting it up against us offensively, where they're hitting, they're just hitting shots, contested shots that they've been missing, opponents have been missing throughout the regular season. Now all of a sudden our opponent's hitting them. We're kind of fucked because we don't have an answer on the other side. So he goes out and gets like a Tyreek Key, and I think he was a big time scorer at Indiana State. He was supposed to be that guy for them 2 years ago. Didn't really pan out. They try that same approach last year. They get a kid by the name of Dalton Connect from Northern Colorado, and they're like, we think this guy can be a great scorer for us. It worked out. Right. Dalton Connect was pretty fucking good. Now this year they're doing the same thing with Chaz Lanier, who's their big transfer they brought in, and he is supposed to be the guy who they want to be, maybe not a 1-to-1, replacement for Dalton Connect. That is very, very hard to do for a first-team All-American and a guy who was the best offensive player in college basketball last year. That's a difficult ask to ask Lanier to replace him. But I will say, after watching the Louisville game, Chaz Lanier is a lot more Dalton Connect than he is Tyreek Key. I think he's at least filling the role of a guy who can just get a bucket, a guy who can confidently step into a mid-range pull-up, and instead of like crossing your fingers as a Tennessee fan that it goes in, and hopefully it'll hit the rim and then hit the backboard and then hit the rim again and trickle in, and maybe we could find a way to get the ball to fall in. It's just rise and fire, and it's
a scorer.
Yeah, he's just a scorer. He's just got a scorer's mentality, and that was my big takeaway. Was I had questions about not just replacing Dalton Connect. It wasn't like Dalton Connect was good for them. How are they going to replace a good player? I trust that Tennessee is going to be a good team. It was, are they going to have a guy that brought what Connect brought to the table insofar as like everything is fucked, we got to give the ball to him, go make something out of this. And I think Lanier could be that guy from what we saw against Louisville. I think he's not going to be as good as Connect, and the team might not be as good because of it, but Tennessee's not going anywhere. They are going to be a very serious contender in college basketball this year if Lanier is as good as he was against Louisville.
What'd you learn on the Louisville end? I mean, we talked about it last show. It's a tough look for Pat Kelsey.
Pat Kelsey going and begging students to come to the game to lose by 22. To be down 10-0 is tough.
They were down 38-16 in the first half.
Yeah.
And so Louisville's giving out free tickets trying to pack the place. I think they fell 6,000 short of a packed house. So
did they really?
I think there's 22,000 seats and they had an attendance of 16,000.
Damn, dude.
That's I don't
tough.
know. And you're not out.
No, I'm not out on. I'm not out on Pat Kelsey. Like Louisville is better than they were, but it's crazy how far that program has fallen. That they lose by 22 at home, and I actually don't think that's. I actually don't think they're as bad as it's a bad result though. I will be honest. Like this was. I think Pat Kelsey saw this as an opportunity to announce to the college basketball world that like things are different at Louisville, and.
It's
tough.
The problem is, Pat, and I'm not trying to tell a man how to do his job. Maybe you should have spent a little more time on the game plan and a little less time riding around in a golf cart.
This was a make shots game though. Louisville. I'm going to throw some stats at you.
Okay.
This is crazy. Louisville had fewer turnovers. So Tennessee turned the ball over 20 times. Zakai Ziegler had 11 turnovers.
It's a lot of turnovers to win the game by 25
Your
points.
Star point guard had 11 turnovers.
11?
11. He had 11. Zakai Ziegler had 11 turnovers.
Shit.
Louisville had fewer turnovers, 20-15. Fewer fouls, 18-13. They fouled 13 times. Tennessee had 18 fouls. They had more steals, Tate. Louisville did. They had the same number of block shots, 4. They had Louisville had 1 fewer assist than Tennessee had. Louisville made more free throws, And they were also 13 for 13 from the line. Louisville shot 13 free throws. They made all 13 of them. They got to the line more. They made more. I think Tennessee actually attempted more, but Louisville they won the free throw battle, the turnover battle, the steals, all this sort of thing. They both made the same amount of threes. They both hit 10 threes, so it wasn't like Tennessee hit 21 threes, and that's how they won by so much. Tennessee was 56% from the field, and Louisville was 27% from the field.
Yeah. That's how you lose
Tennessee
the game.
Tennessee was hitting their shots. Louisville was not. Louisville actually shot more shots than Tennessee did, and Louisville was just breaking them. Tennessee's better defensively and was making life hell for Louisville's offense. But
10 of 39 from 3, whereas Tennessee was 10 of 19.
So
52% to 25%.
You have to make shots to win at this level. You can do everything else well if you're not making shots.
That's good analysis.
You're not going to win a basketball game. You have to make shots. Lose by 22 on your home court when the other team's point guard had 11 turnovers is crazy. Before we get out of here, Todd Golden thoughts. Not good, bad. Also not good.
Technically, you were first to the story.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I was first to the story.
A lot of people are giving credit to the Alligator, whatever the newspaper is in Florida.
Yeah.
Like, wow, great, hard-hitting journalism, very fair. I said, Mark Titus had it 2 hours before.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had this months before, though.
Oh, really?
So I did some digging and just asking around, and I was like, was this? But also, it's hard because, like, the people in college basketball media, we do, and I throw myself in this group, too. We do a lot of times something comes out, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I knew that. I just didn't.
But no, time out.
I knew that.
Then because he's still coaching.
Yeah, he's still coaching, but I
coaching
think
tonight.
There were, I don't want to say whispers, but there was a lot of like, a lot of people were like, yeah, I had known that he was kind of a weird guy or something. People had said that. So I was like, oh, was this known? And then they're like, well, we kind of knew I was like, all right, well, I don't know what that means, but whatever. But I will say I didn't realize the extent of all this. So on Friday's show, if you have no idea what I'm talking about and you missed Friday's show, I did my fraud power rankings and I put Todd Golden. We recorded it Friday morning. I put Todd Golden on the list because he's not playing Olivier Roux, the 7'9".
He was your number 3 biggest fraud.
He was number 3 biggest fraud. And at no point did I mention that he has sexual harassment and stalking allegations being brought towards him, and now he's suing for defamation, and he's on the defensive. And the Alligator, the student newspaper at Florida is painting a pretty, like, it's painting a crazy picture. Like, I'll say this, like, I don't know how much of it, and I'm not, this is not me defending Todd Golden, this is me trying to figure out what's going to happen next. I don't know how much of it was, like, illegal. You know, because like,
it's like
if what they are reporting actually happened, it is creepy as fuck, and I'm sure it is. He should be fired, and he should not be allowed on college campuses, frankly. But also, like, it's like he's liking pictures and if he's sending dick pics.
That's the thing. I was gonna say
that's definitely illegal.
One big thing, can't do that.
That's definitely illegal.
Right.
But the like liking shit and then like DMing and like all that, I was like, I don't. This is not me defending him. It was me saying, like, okay, so what do we expect Florida to do? So, like, part of me thinks, like, maybe Florida's stuck in a difficult spot there where it's, like, technically, like, if you're a married man sending DMs to, like, 18-year-old girls on campus saying, sup, babe, like, is that illegal? I don't think so. It's creepy as fuck.
Right.
It's unbecoming of the head coach at Florida, but we can't really can we fire him?
Well, that's why my whole thing. Like when big scandals come out, like say you want to do a Penny Hardaway situation, or you want to go back to a Derrick Rose, or you want to talk about illegal recruiting, you have to do a lot of research and like investigating. My thing with this whole Todd Golden thing is, did he send a dick pic to a college girl? Did he send a picture of a girl on Instagram of herself and say, hey, I see you right now.
I see you.
Show me that he did that one time.
Should be easy to prove, right?
And he's gone.
Yeah. Should be easy.
So something, and again, not like if you found one incident of that and you're investigating this, he is gone and he is not coaching tonight.
Yeah.
Why is he coaching tonight?
Why is he coaching tonight?
Well,
maybe they
haven't been able.
Maybe they haven't been able to. Yeah.
But he's coaching tonight.
But he is coaching tonight. Yeah.
Father married
by him, and Florida's athletic department has a lot going on right now. We'll say that.
Yeah. Maybe this is just at the bottom of the pile.
Like we hate to say it, but honestly, like this is. This isn't even the most important thing we got on our plate right now. We got a football coach that we're definitely not firing, but we also have to make an announcement every 3 hours that we're not going to fire him. I think the women's coach had some shit going on.
Yeah,
too,
they've had a couple things.
They got some shit going on. But yeah, I did not. If you interpreted Friday's show as me doing a wink about Todd Golden, it was not. That was just a crazy coincidence that I I put him on the fraud power rankings, and then like an hour later, the story breaks. All right, shout outs before we get out of here. Well, the opposite of a shout out, thoughts and prayers, whatever. I guess it could still be a shout out. Daniel Jacobson of Purdue out for the season. Broke his leg for Purdue. Their freshman big man. A position for Purdue that had question marks coming in because you're replacing Zach Edey, now has even more question marks. Now you do have two other giant fucking dudes on the bench that you can turn to, but obviously Matt Painter does not think that they are as good as Daniel Jacobson, which is why they weren't starting, I assume. So, that sucks for Purdue, but maybe they're going to have to rely more on the guards. Maybe they're going to have to get up and down a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't hate that for them, but at the same time, that is kind of what Purdue basketball's identity has been. So to not have a big guy you can rely on, if that is in fact the case, or maybe one of these other dudes steps up, but that sucks. To have a freshman, beyond all of it, just to like be a freshman and be excited and be showing up on campus to a team that went to the Final Four and all that, and you're starting for them and everything's going well, and then you break your leg 2 games into the season. That sucks. Another shout out to LeBron James, who I guess played at Duke in his head, in his dream. Walk me through this.
Alumni of Ohio State, LeBron James, decided that, well, he had a big dream, and then he live tweeted when he woke up what happened in that dream.
Just woke up from having a dream. I was playing for Duke, for Coach K inside Cameron Indoor Stadium. It was insane in there. Told Coach K it was an honor to suit up for him, and he said the same thing back to me.
That's the best part.
That's the best part. He's such a legend. Then it turned right into a concert. Snoop and Dre were the performers, and they was doing the song the next episode. The roof inside Cameron damn near came off. Then my alarm went off, and I woke up. What?
My favorite part, I can't get over the fact that, first of all, in this dream, it was insane, first of all. But LeBron told Coach K, like, it is an honor to suit up for you. And then Coach K said back to him, no, it's an honor to suit up for you. And then LeBron credited Coach K by calling him a legend for what he said to LeBron in the dream.
Yeah.
Like, LeBron, he didn't actually say that to you. That was your dream.
Yeah, that was your own dream.
He's like, thank you for always being cordial, Coach K.
Yeah. Coach K is a great man in my dreams. What a legend. I love it. I won't lie. I love it. I love that LeBron treats Twitter like it's like 2011, and he's just like, I had a thought, so I have to tweet it, right?
Is there any chance that was like, you know how sometimes you'll bet your friend or like Barstool will be like, hey, you get to write a tweet for someone if this happens. That tweet was so ridiculous that like, I had a dream. I had a dream. Coach K said this. I said this. Snoop Dogg did this. Dr. Dre did this.
Then I woke up. I love that he added that part too. And then I woke up, which is how you, if you're telling a friend about a dream and you realize they don't give a fuck, and you're halfway through your story, you just say, all right. And then I woke up, and then you just trail off with the story. And he hit it with that. Yeah. Then I woke up with 2 different emojis. By the way, I guess 3. Then my alarm clock emoji went off. And I woke up. That was very funny. Hey, tomorrow night is the Champions Classic. Tuesday night, we get Duke versus Kentucky is the marquee game. Kansas versus Michigan State. 2 games that I think the odds makers, I think the general public expect to not be particularly awesome games. I think Kansas will be favored. I don't know what the line actually is. I would say Kansas will be favored by 7 probably.
Off.
8.
6.5.
6.5?
Good call.
Really?
Yep.
Give me Duke will be favored by honestly about the same, maybe a little less, 6, 6.5, 7.
5.5.
Really?
Yep. 5.5 and 6.5.
Yeah, so I ideally these are more pick'ems, and ideally going in the Champions Classic you have a little less idea of who is expected to win these. But I still think they could be great games. I think Kansas Michigan State plays pretty well in this every year. Mm-hmm. Whether they win or not, they always seem to like last year comes to mind. Did they win last year? I don't think they did. I think they lost. Michigan State, I think last year, if memory serves, last year they played. I remember walking away being like, Michigan State played actually pretty well. But they lost to Duke.
Yep.
They lost to Duke, but they played well in the first half, wasn't it? 31-20. No, they just couldn't shoot is what it was. Yeah. I remember now. I was at the game. It was in Chicago. They were bricking everything, but they were actually playing decently well. They just couldn't make wide open shots. Yeah, Michigan State has a way of making it interesting, and I think Michigan State is a team that is best when they're counted out as a program, and they have some dudes, and I think that they Akins and Booker and like the guys that they've brought back are have been around the block and aren't going to be scared of Kansas. So I think Michigan State can make a game of it, but Duke Kentucky has my attention because I think Duke is maybe the best team in the country. In Kentucky, I've been singing Mark Pope's praises, and I've been singing the praises of that program and the talent they have on that roster, even though there's not top-end NBA talent that Kentucky fans are used to seeing. I think Kentucky could make it interesting if they can get out and go, and if they can guard Duke, which is a big ask because Duke is absolutely fucking loaded. But I think this is a big test for both teams because I'm high on Duke, I'm high on Kentucky, but neither one of them have really played, obviously, a team of the caliber that they're about to play.
They both played 2 games. The 4 scores between the teams are 103, 100, 196.
Yeah.
Are we about to play an 89-95 game?
Yeah.
This is going to be awesome.
I want to see what Kentucky looks like against top-end talent, and I want to see what Duke looks like against guys who have played a lot of college basketball. And you have a young Duke team, and you're going to be playing against a lot of veteran-type dudes in a crazy environment. I want to see what that looks like. So I think it'll be a good test for both of them. Hopefully we get at least one good game out of the two. But we're going to do a live stream after the games tomorrow. So however you are, if you're watching this, I should say, really if you're listening, but if you're watching this, however you're watching this, we're going to do a live stream tomorrow night after the Champions Classic at the same place that you're currently watching this. And if you're a podcast listener, we're going to put it up on the podcast feed as well. So we will have that available. But we're gonna watch the Champions Classic here at the office, and then do a live stream afterwards because the Champions Classic is kind of it is served as I've had my problems with it through the years, and it's kind of turned into less of a college basketball event and more of an NBA draft showcase plus a college football playoff picture in between games type situation. Like that seems to be what they use it for. But I think for the general public, it has served as the announcement that college basketball is back. Mm-hmm. So it is an important event on the college basketball calendar, and we're going to do a live stream for it tomorrow night after the game. So tune into that. Or don't. I don't care. Maybe just listen to the podcast the next morning. Either way, we will have that available to you for some instant reactions tomorrow night. Anything else before we go? Shout out North Florida. Beat Georgia Tech. They're 3-0. The Ospreys. Mm-hmm. The Ospreys. The North Florida, by the way, is the program. If you've ever seen the meme of the coach in the locker room where he's like turning to he gives his guys a speech and then he turns to the wall and just goes, ah! I think he's going, let's go.
Yeah, that's who they got.
Yeah, that's North Florida. Wake Forest beat Michigan. Mm-hmm. National championship is off for Michigan.
Roddy Gale, 11 points.
Shoot, slipped on the
tough turnover at the end.
Tough turnover at the end, dude. I hate seeing that.
Big Ten pride
from a former Buckeye. God, I hate it. New Mexico beat UCLA, by the way. I had that circled as a sneaky game to watch on Friday night. New Mexico, Richard Pitino, Nelly Jr. Joseph.
Ooh, good
what name. A name. Beat up on UCLA. And then the only other note I had is the Maui Invitational teams right now. There's only one loss amongst them. Dayton beat Northwestern, and Memphis got a good win against UNLV. So right now, the only team that will be playing in Maui as of right this second that has lost a game is North Carolina at the number 1 team in the country in Allen Fieldhouse.
By 3 points.
By 3 points. So fired up about Maui. Should be a fun tournament. I'm going to next week. I'm going to leave next Thursday, next Friday, something like that. So you have anything else before you go?
No, Ryan Kalkbrenner missed a shot. So you gave out Mark Sears at the beginning of the year. I'm all in on that. I think Kalkbrenner is putting up some numbers right now
Dude, he scored half as many points as he.
He's averaging 36.5 a game.
Dude, if he continues this pace though, he's gonna have 12 next game. He's gonna have 6, then 3, and then 1.5.
Glass half full.
Yeah, so
he's also shooting 91% from the field.
He's been unreal. He's been awesome. He's been this feels like a NBA tryout for him where he's like, I'm trying to show off some skills, which is to say the three he hit yesterday.
He's shooting 100% from 3.
Was it off the dribble?
Yeah, he's 3 for 3 now.
He just like caught it and it was like semi-contested, and he's just like, this is what I do now. I'm just gonna shoot these threes. I'm a scorer. I'm an actual scorer. I don't know. It feels like he's showing off his NBA skill set. I love it. Good for him. Yeah, he might be in the National Player of the Year running. He's not going anywhere either. Like, he's not going to score 49 a game, but he's going to block a lot of shots, grab a lot of rebounds, and at the very least, at his absolute worst, he's going to just dunk the ball 8 times a game. You know,
it's going to average 24 points a game.
Something to keep an eye on. All right, that's the show. Check in tomorrow night. Watch the Champions Classic. Watch us break it all down afterwards. And if not, we'll be back. I guess then the podcast will be up Wednesday morning. So keep an eye on that. And we're doing another show later in the week as well. So fun week of college basketball ahead. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.